And I've been
unmasked.
Unmasked. Leila, is it right?
Yes.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, how are you? I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So you said this is your first podcast, right?
Yes, I'm very excited.
Awesome. Have you just not been invited on one before, or?
No, I mean, my aunt, she did a podcast, but it was like, and I always wanted to ask her, like, oh, maybe like I could be on your podcast one day, but she didn't really go through with it. But like, other than that, yeah, I don't think I've ever been asked to be on a podcast.
Really?
But I'm really excited that you asked me because I've been wanting to do one. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I found you. Your mom said you were on Anarchy Radio, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I actually originally auditioned, or I was trying to audition for the role that Drew.
Oh my god.
He's one of my buddies.
He was my boyfriend in the movie.
So he's one of my buddies. I was supposed to audition. Unfortunately, I missed the deadline. Just stupid miscommunications and stuff on my part. But then he got there, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I saw you.
Yeah.
And for me, I just love networking, connecting with all actors in Arizona, just because it's a really fun industry to kind of network and connect with people. So that's how I actually found you. And then obviously,
that's cool.
Yeah,
oh my
one
God.
thing led to another. How was being on that production?
It was really fun. It was my first. I had done a couple acting projects, but I had never done an actual movie before. And especially, being a supporting role, I had a lot of lines, so I got to like really show my acting skills, and it was all around really fun. Like the people were great, everything was great, and it was really like a big eye opener into like what I'm getting myself into.
Right.
And I really loved it. It was great.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what was the process like of getting a role like that?
Well, it's, you get the castings, and I got it through Backstage, which is what I get most of my
way.
I get most of my stuff through there. So I got the casting for that, and I originally was supposed to audition for the role of Cecilia, not Ella. And they thought that I would be better as an Ella, so then they made me audition for her. So once I auditioned for her, they got back to me and they said, we really like you. And then after that, I went in and I went to like go talk to him, and it was just it was a surreal moment because I was like, oh my God, no way they chose me for the movie, because it was like it was my first ever role, and like being a role like that big, like it was just, I was so happy. I literally was like screaming up and down. Me and my mom were like crying. We're like, oh my God, this is happening.
That's awesome. I remember I had, I think, a very similar reaction. I didn't get my first acting job until I was later. I've only been in the industry for a little bit myself. But I had a very similar experience. They casted me and I was like, oh my gosh, I just got my first job as an actor. Like, it wasn't anything huge. Like, your first job is much bigger than my first job ever was. But it's definitely notable to have a reaction like that. How long have you been acting for?
Well, I started like actually getting acting jobs not that long ago. I would say probably like half a year ago, but I've been doing classes and working on like different things for, I'd say maybe about a year and a half.
Okay.
So I've gotten, I'd say probably around like 4 or 5 actual acting jobs, but I've done multiple classes, a lot of hours, and I've just been kind of mainly, focusing on actually learning it than actually like getting jobs, because there's a lot that comes in with acting. So I've just been making sure that, I'm to my liking to where I can actually like start getting jobs, and
Okay. And you're still in high school, right?
I'm going into my senior year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, I remember my senior year. That was fun. So do you prefer classes that the high school holds, like theater type of stuff, or do you do like private classes?
I mean, for me, because at my school they only have theater, and for me, like the kind of acting that I do like more on-screen acting, and theater and on-screen, nothing against theater, but they're just two completely different styles of acting.
Very much so.
Yeah, so, and unless, I mean, if I went to a school out in LA where everybody out there is like an actor, singer, and like performing arts was like kind of not required, but like theater classes were almost required for students to do. I feel like it would be way different out there, but at my school, it's not like, I don't know, it's not really like the kind of acting classes you would think. So I do classes privately, like outside of my school, with acting coaches that, you know, have real acting experience and have been in movies and commercials and other things, because I just feel like it's a lot better for me. And also when I go like to those classes, I feel like I'm surrounded by people who genuinely like want to be actors. Like they didn't just choose it as an elective for their high school.
Right.
So I feel like that plays another big part. Like everybody is there to, you know, get it done and learn what they, you know, want to do. Okay. Not just like for fun. So yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned of how different something like theater is to like on-screen acting, because I didn't realize that either. I grew up a performer myself, and performing on a stage in front of a few hundred people is so much different than when the camera is close up to you. Yeah. And like obviously when it comes to on-camera acting, there's multiple takes that you do. There's multiple, like, okay, cool, you just did this one scene, but now we're going to have you repeat it 6 more times because either it was out of focus or they want to get a close-up on it. They're like, okay, we got the master shot, but now it's time to get the close-up. And you're like, oh, I thought that it was a one, like, I didn't know I have to like, redo the shot, you know? Especially when like there's emotional scenes and you have to cry or something. Those are the most difficult, I find. Obviously with theater, it's a one and done thing. Either you do that, which can be good and can be bad. Either it can be good because it's like, oh, I don't have to worry about doing that scene anymore, or it could be like, I didn't do that as well as I probably could have. So you kind of have both types of deals. Would you ever try theater?
I honestly, I feel like definitely in my career, I would end up taking at least 1 or 2 theater classes, but it's never really been like it's not that I don't like theater. Like I loved watching theater and everything, but it's never really been just my style of acting. I'm more of like a dramatic, or no, because theater is dramatic. I'm more of like a serious, but like not theater type dramatic. Like just, you know, I don't really know how to word it, but going back to what you said about like how it's hard when you have to do multiple takes, especially with emotional scenes. In Anarchy Radio, there was 2 scenes where I had to cry because one of them I was getting broken up with. So I don't even know how many times we filmed that scene, but we filmed it a lot. And my makeup was just getting ruined. And I was like, okay, I don't know how many more tears I have left to cry. Like this is getting out of hand. And then there was another scene where I had to like, I think he only made me film it twice because he knew, like, I don't think I could cry like that again. But I had cried like somebody died. It was horrible. And I was like, oh my gosh, please don't make me do this again.
Yeah, there's different. I feel like also the more that you go into acting, the more you kind of go into what each emotion truly is. Because there's, like you said, there's different levels of crying. You can either cry like your dog died, or you can cry. That might be slightly different than crying getting broken up over, or crying because of loss. Like there's different levels, and I feel like it can definitely be seen in different scenes of like, why is this person crying like that? That's like the ugliest cry I've ever seen. Like they just missed their bus.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily a cute crier either, so I'm excited for that to come out. Yeah,
honestly, like I like seeing when an actor can ugly cry on screen.
Yeah, because it's more real.
I can be like, wow, this is such a real scene versus like, okay, there's probably like 12 cameras on them. I can tell why they're not really crying as bad. Yeah. Is there any like series or movies out right now that you're like, I would love to be in that?
Outer Banks. 100%. 100%. Because like with me, I've grown up like loving the beach and just like like, and I know it's not like in California on the beach, but just the vibe, like everybody is like so happy and it's green and they're living out on boats and like they're just exploring everywhere, and I'm like, this is such a fun movie to film, and like it's funny, it's scary, there's romance, it has like, it's everything in one. And I like, from what I've talked to people about this show, like they love that show. It's just like the vibe you get from the show, like the feeling you get from it, like I haven't gotten from any other show. So I would love to be in a show where like I'm just with my 4 best friends and I'm traveling the world for gold. And
so I'll be 100% honest, and please don't hate me for saying this.
Oh my god, you don't like it?
I've never seen it.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot of people that haven't seen it. I was about to say, if you don't like it, that's different.
No, I can't say I don't like it because I've never seen it.
I really think you should watch it.
Yeah?
It's really good. It's really good. I'd say Stranger Things is all right. Have you seen Stranger Things?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah. But everybody's always like, no, Stranger Things is better. If you're going to watch anything, watch that. That's, like, all right, but I feel like it's just, like, the same thing over and over. Like...
Yeah, it definitely, obviously, different seasons pick up in different ways.
Yeah.
When I first watched it, I'll admit, like, the first time watching Stranger Things, I didn't stick to it. I think I watched, like, the first season, but then immediately just kind of fell off because it was something that I had to kind of grow into. I couldn't just watch and be hooked from day one.
Yeah.
I had to watch it and then afterward wait for the crowd to kind of start hyping it up a little bit, wait for the rest of society to be like, oh my gosh, this person, this.
Yeah.
And learning about the characters, because once I started learning about the actors behind it a little bit more, that kind of grew more of an interest. Like learning about, he has a very Australian name. The guy who plays Billy in like the last season. Everyone pronounces his name wrong too. I always forget. You know who I'm talking about, right?
I know who you're talking about, yes.
It wasn't until like I actually learned about him and stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm kind of curious about this. Or learning about the girl who plays 11.
Yeah.
Or learning about these other kids, because it's like you don't realize they're kids when they're on that show. Mm-hmm. And they grow up. And they
started really young too. Yeah. Like when you watch it fully through, you look at them from the latest season and then the first season, you're like, wow, like they like grew up with this show.
Yeah.
Like
that's a big thing that I realize with a lot of child actors is they grow up with that show. It's not just like you see like maybe a couple episodes or like maybe a couple seasons and you're kind of like, oh wow, they've changed. It's like, well, yeah, that was 10 years of their life that they dedicated to this one little project. So, and it's insane. Mm-hmm. And obviously you being 16, like you're getting into this industry. Is that something that like you're kind of nervous about, or is that something that you dream about?
I mean, it's both. Like I've dreamed about it my whole life, but like also, you know, getting into this industry, and especially for me, because I plan on moving out to LA, and I'm gonna like LA is a scary place. Like it's not, especially like when you're by yourself as a girl. It's not like, it's definitely exciting, but it's also like it's hits you that like, okay, this is really happening, and like this is what I'm gonna be doing for the rest of my life. So it hasn't, just because I'm still here and like it hasn't fully hit me that like this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. Yeah. And I think about it and I'm just like, no way. Like, because I've dreamt about it so long, and I'm like, I just like, it's just so surreal. And I've always like looked up to other actors, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want to do that. Like I want to be in those movies. And now like I'm doing movies and I'm doing shows, and it's just crazy. But it's definitely nerve-wracking, but it's mainly like I'm excited and I can't wait for it, kind of nervous. But I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely a mixture of both for sure.
Who are some of like the biggest actors and people in Hollywood or something that you look up to?
Well, definitely Drew Barrymore, I'd say, is one.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah, I really love her. I think like even just as a person, not because there's a lot, we all know like those actors and like models and the people in the industry that come off as something, but like behind social media, they're just completely not that person. And I feel like Drew Barrymore is one of those actors who like is who she says she is, and she's just so like kind-hearted, and she's been in great movies, and she's a great actress. Also Adam Sandler.
Really?
I love Adam Sandler, and he's just so funny to me, and like I feel like because of him, I am the way I am a little bit.
Really?
Like I've watched a lot of his movies, and I will rewatch them 1,000 times.
Do you have a favorite?
A lot of people hate this one, but I love it. Probably Billy Madison, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because, like, I feel like that movie is just so him.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a great representation of Adam Sandler. I would also probably have to say, I want to say Jim Carrey, but I feel like that's such a basic one. But, like, I love my funny people. Like,
if you're into comedy, he is one of, like, the pioneers of
That's what I'm saying. Like, you
era.
can't like comedy if you don't, or you can't. How would I word that? You can't, like, if you like comedy, you can't not like Jim Carrey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my favorite, like, off the top of my head, would either be Waterboy, or
Waterboy.
Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore. I don't think I've seen that
It's
one,
like
actually.
I think it's the golf one, right?
Yeah, because I know all of his movies, they start off with the Happy Gilmore Productions.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've actually seen the Happy Gilmore movie.
Okay.
Also, I don't know what his name is in real life. But my favorite, because I've seen like multiple movies with him in it, and I just love his character each time. But he's Napoleon Dynamite, but I don't know his actual name.
Oh, I always forget his name too. It was funny too because I was looking into that one.
Yeah.
I think he was actually paid $2,000 to originally do that one.
Napoleon Dynamite?
Yeah, like
he should have been paid way more because that was one of the greatest movies ever.
It was an indie film, and they weren't expecting it to get the results that they did. They were expecting it to just be like a little indie film, but then it turned into a cult classic, and everyone loved it. So he had to renegotiate his contract and be like, "Hey, you guys made this much money off of it. I was your main star, so he had to go back in." And it's crazy those instances because there's a lot of movies that come out like that that they're like, "Oh, we're just gonna throw it out there, see what it does," but then like it might even take a couple years for it to catch fire.
Yeah.
And afterward, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I saw that movie," and it was like, "Oh, I produced that like 10 years ago, and it's finally taking off."
Yeah.
But then they're like, I was paid like $20 a day for this role. I wasn't even paid for this role, and it's like, oh, well, the producers made a couple $1 million off of it because it turned into something, and they're like, okay, so I have to go and renegotiate some stuff because obviously it's blown up like that. So, do you think something like that might happen with Anarchy Radio?
Hopefully. I mean, like throughout the filming process, like just like looking at it through the camera, it looks like a great movie. The actors are great. It's a great like storyline.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely a movie that is good enough to, you know, get out there and like become a big movie. Like I'm super excited for it to come out and for everybody to watch it. And I'm not 100% sure what platforms it's going to be on once it's out, but I know that it's going to be on Amazon. I'm pretty sure. I don't want to say that if it's not, but
possibility.
Yeah, but I definitely think it has the chances of becoming a big movie, and I hope it does.
Yeah, that'd be
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
So that was obviously your first big role, right?
Yeah.
What were some of the best and worst parts of filming something like that? Because there's not a lot of people that actually know the just everything that goes into making a movie like that. Like they don't understand that the hours, the time on set, the fact that like, oh, it's a 2-hour movie, so I spent 6 months filming it.
Yeah.
What was it like for you?
Well, I'd say some of the best parts were just being there in general. Like it was fun, like especially when acting is something that you want to do for the rest of your life. You never look at it as like, oh my gosh, I have to go act. It's like something like you want to do it. Like it's fun for you. So, and also just networking, meeting new people. The people, they're great. I love them. The director was amazing. I loved him so much. Drew was great. And it was great that I like had him as a co-star because, you know, you never like, especially with acting, you're like, oh my gosh, like if I don't have a good co-star, like this movie is going to be a pain in the ass to film. But thankfully, like everybody around was just good energy. So that's great. I'd say one of the only bad things, it's hard to like think of something bad, but I would just say like,
well, I know that especially in a feature film, people don't understand the hours and stuff, like being on set for 13, 14 hours.
Yeah, I would say that that's definitely like something you really have to prepare yourself for. Like there was times when my mom would leave for the grocery store to go grab me a Red Bull because she could just tell I was like,
mom to the rescue.
Okay, this is getting a little tiring. But I mean, you just gotta really like push through it. And if acting is something that you really want to do, then you don't care like how long it's gonna take. Yeah. Like, because at the end of the day, you're gonna be in a movie, so I'm gonna do whatever it has to take to be in this movie. So really, like, that's, I would say the only bad part of it is just like, you know, if you're not prepared for it, then it's gonna be a long road for you. So
So with this journey so far of being an actor, because you've already been casted in one feature film. Yeah. Have you been casted in anything else?
Yes, I actually have a movie that's coming up, which I'm the lead role in for this time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to be filming that next week. Next week I'm going down to California, and then next month, towards the end of the month, I'm going to be going back. So I'm going to be filming. This is going to be talk about a lot of hours. This is going to be a lot of hours because I'm filming it within a span of 4 days, and I'm the lead. Dang. So you can imagine filming a whole movie in 4 days, being the lead.
Is this a union film?
I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not sure.
What was the process like for getting that role? Because I know you got the other one on Backstage. Was this another Backstage
Yeah, this was
project?
another Backstage.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to remember what did I do in my audition? What was my script? I'm trying to remember. It was kind of like just the same thing as the Anarchy Radio. They send me a casting and I submit, and this one was kind of funny because he had told me, he was like, I have you as one of my number one choices right now. I'm just letting a few others roll in, but right now I have you like in my mind. So in my mind, I had already like gotten the role. Okay. And he was like kind of just saying things that made me think like I had already had it, and then he told me I got it, and I was like, oh my god, yay. And like especially since I'm the lead, I was like, oh my gosh, no way, like this is crazy, like my second ever movie and I'm the lead, and my mom actually gets to play my mom in the movie.
No way. Mom gets to be on camera too, huh?
So that'll be fun.
That's cool.
But yeah, we're gonna go out there next week and then next month, so
oh man, that sounds super fun. And that's obviously just like a summer thing, so you don't have to like worry about balancing school or something like that.
Well, I'm actually going to be doing online school, and
oh really?
Yeah, and my school starts back up. This is the first year that they've started this early because they're like changing out their schedule, but they start July 19th, which is after I already finished the movie, but I'm going to be doing online just because I already have way too much stuff like for this next year coming up. And this past year I got through it, like I passed, but it was definitely stressful. Like I had not been this stressed in a while, just because, like it's not like I can't quit modeling and acting. Like I don't want to do that, but it's I also, passion. Like this is my career. Like I'd rather focus on like my career and like what I'm going to do with the rest of my life than worrying about the next year. Like I can get through the next year, but I need to worry about what I'm going to do after that. But, so yeah, doing online, hopefully like that'll just open me up a lot more and get me less stressed. Cause I already like am just, okay, I got through it. And my senior year, I already like did all my testing and everything. I don't have any like important testing I have to do. So I think it'll be a lot better for me and my career. So I'm really excited for that.
I did online school for 1 year, and it was difficult for me because I'm used to the social aspect that comes to school. Like it wasn't just about the classes and stuff. It was that's where my friends were. That's where I got to be away from home. That's where I got to kind of practice a little bit of independence and stuff. So that's awesome, and it's also extremely impressive with how forward thinking you are with your career, because even like when I was 16, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was kind of just like, let's just go home and play Call of Duty and stay up till 4 a.m. and stuff. Typical teenage stuff. So the fact that like you're already this on fire for this kind of career, that's highly impressive. Like I didn't get this fired up for my career until like 2 or 3 years ago.
Thank you.
So that's awesome. How does that make you feel though?
Really excited, honestly, and just like kind of like at ease, because I know like a lot of my friends, they're like, because I'm like the only model / actress at my school, so like people just kind of like know me as like the model, like, oh, you model, right? Like I'll be walking through the hallways and somebody's like, oh, don't you model? And I'm like, yeah.
So you're already getting that recognition a little bit.
And so like it's just, wait, what was the exact question you asked again?
Just how you feel about
okay. How do I feel about what?
Just like the track.
Moving forward. Yeah, I mean, it's like, because for me, like personally, I've always been like the kind of person, like if I think, because I used to want to be a dermatologist before I started acting or modeling. And that was like for years, I was like, I'm going to be a dermatologist and I'm going to go to medical school over out in the Bahamas. Like that was what I was going to do. Like, and then I got into this and I was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely and I can't picture myself doing anything else. Like now that I really know what I'm going to do, and like this has fit so well for me, it's just really exciting. And like I'm excited to like, be out in LA and live on my own and just go to multiple auditions and castings. And it's really exciting, and I just can't wait. And I'm just excited to just be in all these movies, and I just, oh my gosh, it's like, it's overwhelming, but it's also just like, it's such like an exciting future, and I really can't wait for it.
So you said a lot of it can be very stressful and overwhelming.
Yeah.
I know, especially at that young of an age, you probably, how do you balance like things like friendships and school and now this career that you're so on fire for? Like, how does everything balance for you?
It honestly balances very well. I managed to, because especially with me, since like my mom's my manager, I make sure that I'm spending time with my family, and I'm making time for her. She's with me throughout everything. So, and then my friends, like, all of my friends are really supportive of what I do. So, you know, I'll have some friends come to one of my shows, or I'll have some of them like come to an audition with me. So I always like have my friends right there. And if I'm like coming late from a photo shoot, I always make sure I'm like, Mom, can I have like my friend over? Like I always make sure I make time for my friends.
That's good.
So, but I also always make sure that, you know, I have enough time to focus on myself and what I want to do, and, you know, just make sure that I'm, you know, not distracting myself too much. And I'm always putting my career first, because at the end of the day, like, I'm going to be leaving within a year, 2 years. So I really need to figure out that this career is like for me. So I'm putting all my work into, you know, just my career. And it's going to be hard, especially since I'm going to be doing online, because I'm a very, very social person and I love my friends. But I think it's also going to, like, you know, knock some sense into me that this is like, once I move out to California, I'm not even going to have my friends in the same state. Right. So I really have to just, you know, remember that with this career especially, like, you just got to lock in and not have any, like, outside distractions. But, yeah, it's exciting, and it's definitely, like, hard to balance everything: school, friends, career, family, but it's manageable. So it's...
Well, it's good that it's at least manageable for you. I know a lot of people can have difficulty, and I remember when I first got into it, I had to completely change my friendship circle. Like, there were some friends that weren't as supportive as I wanted it, or some that just didn't understand the industry, because there's a lot of stuff that you have to grow to understand, especially about that person. Is there certain like obstacles and stuff that you've had to face, maybe like saying goodbye to some friendships, or has everyone been 100% like, oh, you go, we understand that sometimes you might not be able to hang out as much, we understand this? Has anything like that happened so far?
I mean, I don't think I've had to like absolutely let go of one of my friends. I feel like, if anything, like, I don't want to say this in a cocky way, but just because I've started like modeling and acting, more people have tried to be my friend because of it. Like, there's like, especially when I first started, a lot of people like, and they've told me to my face about this, which I'm like, okay, you probably should have kept that to yourself. But they've been like, oh yeah, like, when you first started modeling, like, I didn't think, like, I thought it was a joke, like, I didn't take you seriously, but like, you're actually like a model. And I'm like, well, yeah, like, what do you mean I'm actually like a model? So it's not like people, I mean, all of my friends, like my close friends, are really supportive. I've not had to like lose a friend, but a lot of people, I feel like, though, have like just been like fake to me about it. Like, because like, you didn't talk to me before, and now like you see like I'm doing all this stuff and you want to be my friend, like, that
creates a whole nother obstacle, because especially in the younger days, when you're doing that in things like public high school or just school in general, especially if you get launched into a career and you're on a show or something, there's so many people that are like, hey, like, and you're like, hey, like, we grew up together, now you're talking to me.
I know, like, everybody's always like, oh, you better remember me when you're famous. I'm like, I don't even remember you from like 2 years ago. Like, what are you talking about?
How does that kind of stuff make you feel too? Does that like kind of make you a little bit on edge with like kind of having to filter out through a lot of new relationships that you build with people? With like, how are they truly trying to be my friend, or are they just being my friend because I'm launching my career and they want to do this? Or does that just not? I mean,
definitely the friends that I have now are definitely my friends because they're my real friends, because I just started like really acting and modeling like only 2 years ago. So like, it's not like they just started becoming my friend because of modeling. Like, I've been friends with them before that, but there's definitely like a good group of people that I would say kind of just talk to me because they think like I'm gonna like go somewhere, and then they're like, oh, like call me out, like invite me to the Oscars, and I'm like, no, like I don't, like you're not, like unless like they're really supporting me and pushing me forward, I don't really associate with fake people. Like it's not really something that, you know, I'm trying to have in my life.
That makes a lot of sense. That's definitely a lesson I feel like I would have learned a little bit earlier on, because that's a part of this industry that not a lot of people tend to realize or even consider to realize is people, it's not going to be the same life at all. You lose a lot of privacy, especially if you gain a lot of popularity, and there are going to be people that don't have the most real intentions when they're coming up to you. Like they'll come up to you and develop a huge friendship, and then later on, like there's obviously a lot of movies about it, later on they're like, hey, so I'm actually trying to be a model too. Is there a way that like maybe you can get me signed to your agency?
I know, a lot of people, they're like, yeah, I'm trying to model, like how'd you get in? And I'm like, I'll tell you how to get into it, but then like they get into like so many questions, like, oh, so like how much do you get paid? Like, are you getting paid for that? I'm like, okay, like if one more person asks me this, I swear I'm gonna punch a hole in the wall. Like, it's not like, because I don't think they understand, like unless they're in the industry, like once you first start, like you have to invest. So like I'm gonna pay photographers to shoot me, and then it gets to a point where it's like a collab, so they're gonna get me in their portfolio and I get pictures out of it. And then once you really get to, you know, like the professional level and like you've done enough work, then it's the point where you're getting paid. So like when people are like, oh, like I'll tell them I did a fashion show and they're like, how much are you getting paid? I'm like, half these fashion shows are just like I'm getting pictures out of it and I get to be in a fashion show. It's not like
you're collaborating with these designers.
Exactly. And it's mainly just like a networking kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. That's a big obstacle I feel like a lot of people also don't realize about the industry is it's not a regular job. You don't just go to work, put in hours, and then get paid a lot of it. Like there's a reason why you can either go into this industry and get paid nothing, or there are giant people that get paid the millions, but a lot of times they get paid the millions because of the amount of initial investment that they put into it. It's not just like, oh, I want to be a model. Okay, cool. I'm signed by this. I've been personally signed by my agency for over a year now, and I haven't made like a whole lot. I don't get a whole lot of gigs. Like you don't get signed to an agency and it's like, oh cool, every week I get a new job. It's still just as hard, if not harder almost in some instances, to book these things. It's not like, oh, you're a model, so you get paid like a lot of money. You get to represent like all these cool brands and you get to do that. It's like,
that's like always the first question when I tell people like I model, and they're like, oh, what's the biggest brand you've modeled for? And I'm like, I don't know, Walmart. Like, I haven't modeled for like super big
and even
brands.
Then,
like,
it's like, oh, and it almost makes them like, oh, only Walmart and whatever. It's like you do realize that like Gucci models are some of the most prestigious people you'll ever meet. They don't like, just get picked off the ground. Like, hey, you want to come model for?
Yeah, those models like signed with like MMG and are like best friends with Gigi Hadid and Kendall Jenner. I'm like,
exactly.
You got to work your way up there.
Yeah,
like,
and even getting something like Walmart is still a giant deal because that's a national type of chain. That's still like the amount of stuff that goes into a deal like that. Even just doing something local. Yeah, I mean, the amount of competition here. There's 1 billion plus people your age, your skin tone that look somewhat similar that could do the exact same thing. Yeah. And so the amount of competition that goes into trying to do that, like it's hard enough already booking a role. Yeah. So I feel like there's just a lot of things that people don't understand. Like, oh, you're a model, but you've only done a local brand. It's like, well, that local brand also had 800 other people that wanted to fashion or model for them.
Yeah, especially like for me with like modeling wise, not so much acting, because acting, I've just been like skyrocketing way more than I did with modeling. But for modeling with me, because of my height, like I'm 5'5", nobody, like especially super like high brands, like nobody wants a 5'5" model. Like there's a reason that the biggest supermodels are 5'9" and up. So like there's the competition is way harder for me, but that's why I do like more local stuff, because like these local people, like they don't care if like you're a supermodel or not. Like if you have a good walk and you photograph well and you're great to work with, like that's all they care about. So that's especially for me why like I plan on acting being my main job rather than modeling is just going to be kind of a side, because like acting, you can just like be more yourself. Like it's not so like strict, and like it's not like you're just walking for 30 seconds and then, okay, all that work that I prepared for weeks is over now. Like it's something that you do consistently, and it's just a lot more fun for me personally. I love them both, but like acting is just definitely like better because I can just be more myself, and that's like something like if I like can't, then it's just like, okay, I just like feel like I'm like going into a hole slowly, and it's just like not good.
One of the biggest things as well, me getting in the industry, and that I see that it's not talked about a lot, is stuff like mental health.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine what it's like for someone who's younger getting into something that's so competitive.
Yeah.
And something that has so much denial and so much, you're just getting no's left and right and stuff. And like dealing with that at a young age, how do you manage your own mental health with when you do get rejection, or when you do have these longer shoots that are days and like you don't have a typical Saturday to hang out with your friends anymore?
I mean, it's all like in your mindset. For me, like personally, I've always like had good mental health, so that's like obviously good to like just start off with good mental health. But like when I get a no, like, because going into this industry, you have to just know that you're gonna get more no's than you are a yes, and like just getting a yes is like a bonus. Like you're like, your job is to audition, and if you get a no, then so what? Like you get a no, like that's it's nothing against you personally. It's just you're not what they were looking for. Like so your perfect role is out there, and like you're gonna get work. It's just you're not like that. You're not the right person that they were looking for. So I just, anytime I get a no, it's just like it's not like, oh, like I'm sad I didn't get the role, but it's also like, okay, like I'll have other chances and opportunities. So honestly, if you just stay positive and just look at it as like nothing personal, but just like you just weren't like a right fit, like it's whatever. But yeah, I mean, and especially like with my friends, like, yeah, there's been especially like this football season, like football games, especially with the high school, like those are such a big deal. And I think I only went to one football game, thankfully, because our school did horrible. We literally won like 2 games this season. I'm not even lying. And the one game I went to, we lost. I was like, all right, so this is my last game I'm ever going to. But like I'll like look at people's stories on Snapchat or Instagram, and like they're like at a party and I like can't go because I have a photo shoot the next morning. So I'm like, but then I'm also like, okay, like I'm doing that, like what I want to go to this party and probably it's gonna get shut down in 30 minutes, and then I'm gonna get like stranded not knowing where I'm at, or would I rather like just stay at home and get some nice rest and do this photo shoot that's only going to benefit me? Like this party isn't going to benefit me. Yeah. This photo shoot is. So that's another way I look at it. Like what are the outcomes? Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I remember in high school, like partying was something I did kind of worry about. Like, am I going to seem cool? Am I going to fit in if I don't go to these parties? But even looking back now, I didn't go to parties a lot. Yeah. But even now, as a young adult, I still choose now not to go. I do get invited here and there, but I choose not to go out because you then learn, like you said, what's going to be the best for me? What's going to serve the best purpose? Is going out going to serve the best purpose tonight, or is maybe staying in and watching a movie that's going to make me happy, or spending time with my dog, or doing a self-care routine of whatever your self-care routine is. It's like learning how to prioritize yourself over that. And you did mention things like Instagram and Snapchat. I know that's probably one of the biggest things, especially for those in their teens and stuff. Yeah. What is your opinion on social media?
Okay, well, when you ask a teenage girl that, I love it, but I also, like, I hate it. Like, I don't know. Like, there's so many mixed feelings about it. Like, it's great because, like, I grew up, like, with my mom and like people like older. It's just like they'll be like, oh yeah, we didn't grow up with social media, so like how are you guys so addicted? But, like they have to understand like this is what we grew up with. So like our Snapchat is like your guys' like Messenger and Facebook. like I'm
starting to feel old right now.
Yeah, so it's just like it's just like a way to communicate with friends and everything. And it's like it's definitely, there's a lot of benefits with it when it comes to like people are creating businesses, and especially with this industry, like now, if you don't have Instagram, like Instagram is like now like the new portfolio.
Right.
Like Instagram, everybody, like if you go to a networking event, oh, what's your Instagram? So I would say social media has definitely benefited a lot of people, but it's also hurt a lot of people. I think that, but it really just depends like on the person and on your mindset. So if somebody has a bad outlook on it and they're like, they compare themselves to social media and like just, think that all this stuff is real when it's really like not, and they get that in their head, then it's like, okay, yeah, you're not gonna like have a positive opinion on social media. But if you use it as something positive and you use it like to promote your business or to create a company or whatever, then yeah, like, so I really just think it depends. But personally for me, I haven't had a problem with it. So I've only, and my Instagram, it's been a huge help. I recently actually had a problem and my Instagram got hacked.
Oh no.
Yeah. And they like sent me, a DM saying that like if you don't press on this link, then your account is gonna get taken down because you violated like 3 different other things. So of course I pressed on the link and and they like they get into my account. So but thankfully like my little brother, he's like the tech head of the family, so he like got in there and changed my password before the hacker could like really take down my account. But it was scary because I've worked on my Instagram so hard and like I've grown way too far on it, and I'm like, if I lose this, like this is my portfolio, like if I don't know what I'm gonna do if this is gone. So
well, I feel like it's definitely you have to have a different outlook of social media. Like for me, I personally wish I can get rid of all social media completely. I wish I could literally just go on there and delete everything. But you kind of have to now, especially being in these industries and modeling or acting, because that could be a deciding factor of whether or not you get it. Because that's a marketing thing. If it's between 2 people, one of them has 100,000 followers on Instagram, the other only has like 20. That could be the deciding factor of like these guys are completely equal. They both perform really well. They're both really good on camera. They both have a good look to them. But this person has a lot more followers, which could in turn bring more people to watching the movie. So that could be a deciding factor. And that can come with its own good things and bad things. But like I deleted Snapchat. I didn't see a personal reason for me to have it. That was literally just communicating. I'm like, you know what? If they want to communicate with me, they can either text me or DM me on Instagram.
Yeah, I hate text. I feel like Snapchat is like just way more of like a teenage thing, because like I had Snapchat I think since 2017, so like it's strictly like been the only way I communicate with my friends. Like I have so many of my friends on Snapchat, so like if somebody texts me, like it's not weird, but just like just snap me, like just snap me, like what?
I love even if like we're only a few years apart, I love the generational differences, because for me it's not weird for me to ask someone for their number and be like, hey, I might text you instead. If
somebody like they'll come up to you and be like, what's your snap? Like they don't ask for numbers.
Well, I used to even do that in my senior year, like, hey, what's your snap? And that was like the typical thing. But then I don't know, I just realized that like with these social media companies, they know how to reel you in enough to where I was wasting so much time just watching stories that I hated, or even just like people that I didn't associate very much with. I'd still watch their stories and make me feel even worse about myself. So Snapchat, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna say goodbye to that. But like Instagram, I still gonna get that, but that I just have to manually go through and filter like, oh, this person, I don't like what they post, so I have to unfollow them. But I still have to remain present. And things like TikTok, all these other, I don't know, like a lot of older generations definitely, I feel like, don't understand where the addiction comes from. But it's because the algorithm hasn't worked for them in the same way it's worked for you. You spend enough time on this app to where the algorithm can understand you and get to know you and understand of how to reel you in, how like what gets you to click on more stuff. And obviously with you revolving your life so much around these apps, it's a lot easier for them to be like, okay, cool. Well, she likes fashion and she likes this, so if we could push more of this in front of her, and she's gonna do that. And then eventually you go from texting people to just snapping, and then it's like, how can we get her to use Snapchat instead of just regular text? Oh, well, we can do like the whatever half swipe thing. My girlfriend does it all the time. Like, what are you doing?
Oh my god, I do that to people all the time.
And like, I'll notice that and they'll half swipe, and I'm like, just respond to the person.
No, because I have to know, like, for me, like, I have to swipe everybody. Doesn't matter who it is, because I got to plot my response. I got to, okay, what do they say?
Yeah.
And then if I'm like, shoot, I don't want to respond to that. Like, because sometimes, like, when it comes to, like, guys or something, like, they'll, like, I'll see them typing and I'm like, oh, and then they text me and I'll half swipe it and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna text him back.
It's almost better just to not text them at all instead of just like leaving it. I get that. I honestly, as soon as I learned how to do that, I was doing it to everyone.
I know, like, and it's just a habit now. Like I'm like, okay, what'd they say? Okay, I can respond.
Yeah. Sometimes though, I'd forget to respond. I would open it and then I would be like, okay, I respond in my head. And then like 6 hours later, I'm like, oh, they haven't responded. And I'm like, oh shoot, I never responded.
Or like sometimes I'll half swipe it and I accidentally open it. Yeah. And then I leave them on open, and then I'm like, shoot. Yeah. Like I did not mean to do that.
At least with text message, you can decide on whether or not it looks like.
Yeah, and with text message, I have all my read receipts off, so people can't even see if I read their message or not.
Right. Well, it's coming to be about that time. I know you have to go soon. You have a whole career thing to start taking care of. So. I appreciate you being on so much.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you for inviting me.
Yes, of course. It's very interesting to get an insight of what it's like for someone a lot younger to be starting in this industry, because there's a lot of like hurdles and stuff, and the industry has obviously changed so much. Yeah. Even from 30 years ago. Like I've heard of other actors like, I don't think I could personally be in the industry if I had to start from day one.
I know. If I started modeling, like if I started modeling like back in like the 90s or something, I wouldn't even be a model. Like if you're not 5'9", then get out. Like we don't want you. That's how it was.
Like there's good changes that have happened, but then there's those bad changes towards like you do have to be present on social media, you do have to do this, and all these other people like, oh, you're saying I can't just go to an open casting call with my headshot and get an audition that way? It's like, no, casting people do not want you to come. Casting people do not want you to reach out.
Yeah, especially since now a lot of castings and auditions are not in person.
Yeah, they're all virtual. And they're like, we don't want you back to in-person stuff. Yeah. So you can't knock on their door and be like, hey, I know you're filming this movie. You're going to put me in. Here's my headshot and stuff. For them, they're like, here's a restraining order. Get away from me. No, I'm calling the cops.
Yeah, I think COVID definitely like turned everything around.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want you to be late for your thing. So I'm going to let you do your little signature thing I told you about. Do you remember it?
I just say my name and then I've been unmasked. Yeah. Okay.
So go ahead and look at that camera. Okay. And then...
Hi, my name's Leila Collins, and I've been unmasked.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Leila.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah.